So miking a rotary cabinet or a Leslie cabinet can be a little tricky, but today I'm going to talk you through it. My name is Mark Slimm, and let's talk about Leslie cabinets. A Leslie cabinet or a rotary cabinet is kind of just a specialized speaker cabinet that is designed for organs, and it can be designed for keyboards and pianos and other stuff. And they come in all different shapes and sizes, but they all operate pretty much on the same basic principle. Is you have a tweeter and you have a woofer. The tweeter right here blows its sound into this little drum right here, this horn. One of these horns is a dummy, and the other one has the sound that comes out of it, and this little horn right here rotates. Down here we have a woofer, 16-inch woofer. That woofer blows into this drum, and that drum rotates as well. So this Leslie effect is called the Doppler effect, and it works kind of like a police siren or a car horn driving by you. As it drives by you, its pitch decreases, and that's kind of what the spinning speakers does. It causes a vibrato effect, but it also causes a tremolo effect. So the volume gets higher and the volume gets lower, and the pitch goes up and the pitch goes down slightly. So a Leslie cabinet, you can think of it like a kind of a large acoustical instrument, like a drum set. A drum set definitely interacts with the room that it's in. Because the speakers are rotating, it is throwing sound out in all directions. So it really interacts with the room. So the best way to kind of get that interaction, that natural sound, is by giving it a little bit of a room mic, giving it distance. So you can use a single mic or an XY setup and get kind of a stereo image, and you can get a really natural sound. So that's what I've done here. And what I like to do is I like to take the tweeter and the woofer and get a measuring tape and measure the distance between those two, and then I'll put my mic that far from the speaker cabinet, and I try to put it in about the middle of the cabinet, the mic pointing in the middle of the cabinet to get the highs and the lows. So let's take a listen to what that sounds like. One of the disadvantages of distant miking it is you get a lot of the room. So if you're recording it with a drum set or a guitar player or multiple other instruments, you're going to get a lot of bleed and you're not going to have that control. So the next best thing is to close mic it. When close miking it, you can use anything you want. You can use an SM57, two SM57s, or a pencil condenser and an SM57, really whatever you want. You can come at it from the vent side or the open side. The open side has a lot more wind noise, so I use pop screens to prevent that wind noise. And then all I do is take it and I line it somewhere with the upper rotor, and I put one down with the lower rotor, and I get the gains, and it's pretty much set. So this is my setup. So you can see it is a little different. You do get some benefits and there are some drawbacks with it. Since you're close miking the upper and lower rotor, you can get that control between the lower and upper rotor, and you can maybe just compress the lower rotor if you want. You got a lot of options when you do that. So let's talk about stereo width. They're not really that wide like a drum set or an acoustic piano or something. They're really kind of narrow. Most of the time you're sitting like 10 feet from the speaker, and it doesn't actually, it throws sound around, but you mostly just hear it kind of run around in the room. So when it comes to stereo miking, my preferred is the more natural approach and just like an XY setup, and you can stick that kind of right up at those top rotors. The lower rotors really don't matter because it's lower frequencies, and I wouldn't really stereo mic it because it's just so low. I would just stick with a single mic down at the bottom, and if you're going to do stereo, I do an XY. You could do a near coincidence, but that is just too wide, and that becomes very distracting when you're going in fast and that speaker's spinning around really fast, especially when wearing headphones. It just kind of falls apart. So definitely experiment with the stereo image. If you're in a pinch, I would definitely XY, and you can't go wrong with XY. I have it set up here with an XY at the top to AKG 451s, and then just an SM57 down at the bottom. Let's take a listen to that. This is my preferred setup. It's enough stereo image, and it's got enough low end, enough high end, and I really like the overall sound from it. Another thing you can do is you could get the direct signal before it goes to the Leslie and mix it in with the wet signal coming from the Leslie, and you can kind of mix the Leslie sound with the dry sound, and you can get some interesting sounds with it. Let's take a listen to what those room mics sounded like with the DI signal. So the DI adds a lot. It adds definitely that high end to it, and adds that extra low end to it, and it also competes with the Leslie. The Leslie is, kind of phasing around doing its weird thing, and that direct signal isn't, and it kind of causes this clashing effect, which is really cool. The only problem is the Leslie cable has this weird Ampamol connector, which you really can't stick into your recording console. And the other thing is, most Hammond organs do not have a direct line out. So I'm going to show you how I personally get direct signal off these organs, but I have a disclaimer. If you want to try this, you are doing this at your own risk. These organs have high voltage DC and AC and a whole bunch of stuff laying in the inside that could definitely damage your equipment and definitely kill you. So you need to know what you're doing when you're messing around with this equipment. So having said that, this is my approach to getting direct sound off of the Leslie, or off of the organ, actually. So what I did is I took a basic XLR cable like this, and I took the female end and I cut it off, and there's 3 wires underneath it. There is a blue, a red, and this ground wire, or this bare wire. And basically what that is, we got the ground and we got the 2 hots. And inside of this organ is a little amplifier box, and the output is actually a line level signal. So we have 3 lugs coming from the center tap transformer. We have the ground, which is labeled ground, and we have the G black, and we have the G red. Now, some of your organs, depending on your year, may not have anything at all, and that is even more dangerous because some of them also have 300 volts DC output on them. So you could think, oh, this is the one I want to connect it to. And you connect it up there, you blow your equipment out, or the next thing you know, you receive a nasty shock and possibly die. So voltmeter, voltmeter. So what I do is I take some alligator clips, clip the ground wire, the bare wire, to the metal of the chassis. There is a ground lug, but I just do this to save space. And then you take the blue and red cables and you connect those to the other terminals on the output. Now once you do this, I would definitely pre-listen before you record, listen to the direct signal and the speakers together, because you could have phasing issues. And if you do have phasing issues, it's really simple. You just reverse the blue and the red wire. Or you could hit the polarity switch on your console. Either way, I just like to do it by swapping the cables. So we learned that the Leslie cabinet is a 2-speaker amp that rotates. And the easy way to mic it is to take 2 mics and just close mic it. Or if you're in a situation with not a lot of bleed, you could room mic it. We also learned that we can take some direct signal from the organ. Sometimes that's not always available, but if you have that available, you can take the direct signal from the organ and mix it in with the Leslie to get a great sound. So I hope you learned something today, and if you did, hit that like button. Hopefully you're prepared to mic up a rotary cabinet or a Leslie cabinet if you come across one. Thanks for watching. Until next time, thank you.